would you suggest some federal institutions or federal institutions be handed over to private bodies?
Well, no. I'm not subscribing that they be handed over to private bodies. But I'm saying that let us look at what is happening at this, the private universities. What are they doing to sustain their institution?
UNILAG chapter.
Maybe we'll collaborate.
Okay.
And that, you see, ASUU is, each time government is talking about fees, I'm a member of ASUU, but I don't subscribe that students will not be made to pay a fee to be able to sustain these institutions. You see, you can't get anything free. Of course, when I say this, some of my colleagues will disagree with me.
Yeah, but those are agree with you, because if you're asking government to fund you and then you're telling students to pay a fee, I mean, where's all this coming from? Why don't you say, okay, let the students pay the fees, let the government keep their funding, and then we'll run the school?
No. You see, it's a joint effort.
You're asking for for an autonomy of the universities.
Yes.
How far has that gone?
Well, the autonomy is still far away. It's still far away. There are many components of the autonomy. It's not enough to say, okay, elect vice chancellors. Okay, let members of the academia be in the governing council. That is not enough when you talk about autonomy. Autonomy is to empower the universities to source for funds to be able to sustain their various programs.
When you say you've actually exhausted virtually all avenue before getting to this point which we are in already, warning strike starting from today, did you make any representation to the National Assembly? Because they also have a committee looking into education.
Yeah, you see, they have a body, so to say, or a committee. But how long do they interface with ASUU and then the university community?
They've done it before.
But how often? You see, this thing for me is supposed to be a regular. There should be a regular interface.
Yeah, but if you didn't,
so that you don't have to wait until when there is strike. That
you know, Chairman is trying to ask you now. Does ASUU reach out to them?
They do. Exactly. They do.
Did you reach out to them?
Then how often do they do that?
You see, they do. But you see, how many times do you have them in session? They're always on break or on recess.
No, but should that be tenable? I mean, if ASUU is going to embark on a warning strike, I mean, for courtesy, even at that, wouldn't it be okay to just notify members of the House Committee on Education and the National Assembly?
They do. For example, let me take you back. The agreement we're talking about was signed in 2009. We're in 2000. In fact, 2011 is almost going. We're talking about 2 years. In fact, but if you go back to that agreement, you see that agreement is already moribund, because inflation and other economic crises have overtaken.
We still can remember, Doctor, we still can remember all of that, 2009. But again, this year, well, they just came on board and, just 100 days and a couple of days in office. So people are saying that looks like, well, this time around, you didn't get to meet them quite often as you would have for you to have gone on strike now.
Okay. You see, good 18 is a warning strike. So if we think we have not made enough effort to reach them, this is an opportunity. And you people in the media should also find out from them what effort they are making to make sure that these problems are solved. So I told you, this strike or the disagreement in society is inevitable. Because as long as we cannot agree on one thing, they are bound to be.
What about the students?
The students?
Yes.
Well, of course, you said it before.
You reach out, you say you try to reach out to the members of the National Assembly, you try to reach out to the government. Do you reach out to the students? Do you actually ask the students, what do you want? Before you embark on your strikes? You
see, the problem with some of the universities in Nigeria is that most student unions are proscribed. So there is no forum for the students to get together.
Is there anyone in UNILAG?
There is not. Student unions have been proscribed.
Where the student unions are not proscribed, or even if they are proscribed, do you lecturers create avenues to relate with your students?
Of course. We in fact, we create a lot of opportunities through the Dean of Students Affairs, through course advisor. I'm a course advisor. So I reach my students on one-on-one.
No, but Doctor, you know that how can students be reached when they proscribe their unions for years?
For years.
How do you relate to students that way?
They do. You see, like in various faculties, they have what they call association of that faculty. You have like a faculty of art, they have students association. all the faculties.
Well,
they have the way of.
Well, the last time we checked, such association is just to do some kind of parties, orientation for freshers and all that, not about their welfare, so to speak. But again, the way it is now, are you happy that, well, at the end of 1 week, what do you expect to see?
Well, we are not happy, but of course, let's also see the outcome of 1 week. I know that this 1 week is not, as I said, it's only once in some universities that are in session. They are writing exam, for instance. I had in Ibadan, students were driven out of hall because of the threat of Boko Haram. They were driven out from the hall. So maybe they are on session. But in some universities, they are not in
Well, the strike ends on Friday. So
yes.
we're asking, by Monday, what should be the next step of ASUU?
Well, by Monday, I mean, ASUU executive will go back to the drawing board and find out what next step to take. I'm sure they are still discussing because last week they engaged the Minister for Labour. They were discussing. So discussion is still an ongoing process.
While this one is ongoing.
Yes.
Strike.
Yes, and of course, I'm sure by now they are discussing.
What about the Education Minister?
Well, the education, normally is the Labour leader, the Labour Ministry that handles this kind of affair.
Okay.
Not the Education Minister, yeah.
Unilag chapter was quoted to have said something about the Vice Chancellor position in LASU. Okay. What is your grasp with it? You're talking about the appointment, 4 or 5 years. What exactly is it?
In Lagos State University?
Yes.
Well, the Lagos, LASU has been on the news for a long time. The appointment of Vice Chancellor is something that has caused division among the staff and students. And I'm not sure it has been resolved. So it's still, and of course, as a state university, there is little you can do to interfere with the policy of the governing board or on the part of government. So I think they will resolve it. It's just a matter of time.
But this agreement now that ASUU has embarked on a 1 week warning strike, we understand is due for renegotiation next year.
Exactly.
So what would you do about that?
Well, you see, that's why the strike too is a signal to the point that, look, we need to go back and look at the issues we've agreed upon. As I mentioned it here, 2 years ago, inflationary pressures in the economy, market forces, and so on and so forth, have taken their toll on this agreement. So it's even meaningless. We need to go back and then improve on it. You see, when we talk about facilities or the decadence of facilities, you need to go there sometime, make out time, go to the classrooms and see what people are sitting down on. It doesn't give any reasonable human being to think. You cannot think in that kind of environment. It's chaotic. And what kind of products are we sending to the market, to the world? It's worrisome. Take out your time, go there and sit in for yourself. It's not enough to buy cars for officers, and then when you see them in the car, you feel that, oh, these people have arrived. No, go back and see what is happening.
Well, this is certainly unfortunate. A 1 week warning strike, which you say will end on Friday.
Yeah.
So what happens thereafter? You go back to school, you go back to negotiations, or you embark on another?
No. Well, no, after that, we go back to work. We go back to work. While efforts will be made to see how this negotiation can be fine-tuned.
And if they are not fine-tuned, you go back on strike again?
Well, maybe of course, the NEP will decide that, but I'm not sure it's taking place immediately. They have to look at it.
Normally, how many weeks' notice do they give before they embark on a strike?
Like a full-blown strike, they'll be giving sufficient notice of at least not less than 2 months.
2 months. What about a warning strike like this one?
Warning strike like this, perhaps 2 weeks or so, or more than 2 weeks.